That's right!
What's up everybody, Meowth here. They've finally done it. They finally started announcing UNNERFS and it's exciting and super awesome. Alec, a senior game designer on the Hearthstone team, has been rolling them out day by day, 3 classes a day over on Twitter. And so today we're going to be talking about what they've revealed so far and talking about the wild decks that are impacted and potentially the impact on the wild metagame, as well as just evaluating the strength of the card now in current wild. So we have a ton to get into in this video. Before we get into all that, just a couple things. First, just a reminder to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you guys enjoy my content. It does support me a ton. It's just one click. And second of all, I want to shout out Immic Plays. He makes the graphics that you're going to be seeing today. Super clean, super nice. Every time they do buffs and unders and all that kind of good stuff. And he lets me use them in my videos for free. So I wanted to make sure that he gets a shout out. And you guys can click his Twitter down in the description below. Drop him a follow to show him a little bit of love and support for the awesome stuff that he's doing for the community. But yeah, let's go ahead and get right on into it. Demon Hunter has only been in the game for a year, so we're not getting any significant rotations, so therefore no significant reverts. We are getting a couple of changes with the core set, but nothing really exciting to talk about today, so let's go ahead and move on to Druid. So Druid getting Keeper of the Grove from back to a 2/4 and Ancient of Lore back to drawing 2 cards. Let's just be real with each other. Neither of these cards, even though they're getting a nerf, they're going to see any play at all in Wild. So I don't really want to talk about it too much. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the exciting stuff in Hunter. Diamond Turner Brand going back from back to 7 from 8. So this is something that we knew was going to happen, like 99.99% sure. And so it's nice to see it actually happen. It lets us do the double brand thing for the burst damage in Reno Hunter. I mean, Diamond Tamer Brand, even when it was 7, Hunter, like Reno Hunter, wasn't like a super strong class or super strong deck. So I mean, it's nice, but it's not enough for Hunter. Maybe something that we're going to talk about later might be. Hunter's Mark going from 2 to 1. So I don't really know if you run this main in any Hunter deck. Like, it doesn't really help against Big Priest because you kill 1 and like 17 more take the place. And you can't really kill 1 giant because then they just pump out 4 more against Dark Lair. So I'm not really sure where Hunter's Mark really sees play like as part of the 30. But I do wonder if it ever gets offered off of Zeph now. As like 1 mana able to being able to kill a minion for 1 mana rather than like 2 for Shadow or Death. So I'm not really sure if it's in the code. So that might be something to manipulate your mana and test out for a little bit. And let's talk about Flare. So Flare going from 2 to 1. I mean, a 1 mana cantrip in any sort of like combo Hunter build is really good, especially since it can get rid of Ice Walks and stuff like that. I mean, it wasn't like, it's not going to help you and make you competitive against Secret Mage in my opinion. So the big thing with Flare is the fact that it's now a 1 mana card off of Zeph. I think that's a huge buff. Man, Zeph's getting stronger and stronger if he stays bug free. So yeah, I mean, Flare I think is a good change. Hunter needs all the help they can get, which is why I'm really excited for the last change that we're getting. Starving Buzzard going from a 5 mana 3/2 to a 2 mana 2/1. Yeah, 2 mana Starving Buzzard. Whenever you summon a beast, draw a card. So imagine this like Alley Cat, 1 mana, draw 2 cards. Wolpertinger, 1 mana, draw 2 cards. Yeah, it's pretty good. Sunscale Raptor's going to be really good with this. One of the new cards from Forged in the Barrens. Man, Starving Buzzard's a very good card. I think Starving Buzzard gives Hunter something broken they can do, finally. The thing is like, it's just 1 broken piece, you know? But it's a good broken piece. And it's something for Hunter to build off of. I think what happens is stuff like Beast Hunter goes from being like a tier 4 meme to like tier 2, tier 3. Like, I think it's a good deck. I mean, those kind of like aggressive Hunter decks are probably still going to struggle against Odd Paladin. They're probably still going to struggle against any deck that runs Reno. So it's going to be, it's going to be a while until we see Hunter back in tier 1. But I think Starving Buzzard is a good first step. I would also say something like Master's Call plus Starving Buzzard plus like double Alley Cat, double Wolpertinger, and like double Snow Flipper Penguin might just be like a strong enough draw engine on its own that you put it in like any style of Hunter deck, right? Secret Hunter or whatever, just because it gives your deck so much draw. It might honestly be worth it. So it's something to keep an eye on. Again, I'm very happy Starving Buzzard got unnerved. I think it's one of many changes that need to happen to Hunter for it to be competitive in our format, but I'm really happy that they did it. Alright, so let's move on to Mage. Mage getting 3 changes. Let's start off with Dragoncaster going from 7 to 6. I mean, this is a really nice buff for Dragon LPG builds. Just any ability to get the LPG out earlier in the game while still developing tempo is a huge deal for that deck. And it's the whole reason you ran dragons in the first place, right? And so now I can totally see us going back to this Dragoncaster, Malagos, and then like triple Alexstrasza style of build, like new Alex, the one that like deals 8, Highlander Alex, and then like the one that sets 15. Just run all of those in a Dragon Shell and LPG, and I think LPG can be like super nice again. The thing is it's still going to struggle against Big Priest, it's still going to struggle against Dark Lair, it's still going to struggle against Secret Mage. So LPG Mage is not going to be back to super competitive, but Dragoncaster is a really, really awesome piece, and I'm glad that it's back. And then Conjurer's Calling going from 4 to 3. So Conjurer's Calling was really only played in one deck in Wild before it got nerfed, and that was actually Odd Mage. The ability to Conjurer's Calling, Quarter Keepers, and Jan'alai were kind of the big selling points for that, and now you get to add like Jandis to that deck. Again, Odd Mage right now is like a tier 5 meme. Conjurer's Calling being reverted makes it better, makes it maybe tier 4, maybe tier 3. I'm also really, really excited to try out Conjurer's Calling like in LPG Mage with these big dragons, because now you get to run the big butts in the dragons. And you play for 1 mana, and then you Conjurer's Calling. Play this with like Tortola and Pilgrim. You can Conjurer's Calling your Jandis. There's a lot of like nice, sweet hits potentially in that deck. It might be a little bit greedy, probably is a little bit greedy. And so it's gonna be fun to play with that in those decks. But I think the place you're probably going to see Conjurer's Calling the most is like when you're playing against Quest Mage and they randomly generate it and they duplicate the Giants, and it's really, really obnoxious. But yeah, I mean, Conjurer's Calling not going to make a huge impact in the format, in my opinion. But again, it's just another one of those really, really nice pieces for those lower power decks, and which is exactly kind of what you want from these cards that are getting unnerfed as well. And then let's talk about the big one, Mana Worm, going from 2 mana 1/3 to a 1 mana 1/2. Almost. I was really scared of Mana Worm being 1 mana because Secret Mage would have loved it, Quest Mage would have loved it. It would have just been like absolutely insane in current Mage builds. Going back to a 1/2 is actually so much more of a big deal than a lot of people think it is. 2 health is so much worse than 3. It's crazy how much 1 health matters, but like I don't know if 1/2 Mana Worm is good enough to run in the format, which is kind of crazy. I would have definitely run like a 1 mana 1/3 in Quest Mage and Secret Mage. I don't know if you run a 1 mana 1/2 in Secret Mage. Like, I don't know if a 1 mana 1/2 Mana Worm is better than something like a Cold Conjurer. That's like, because that's the card you would be cutting, right, for the most part. And so it's really interesting. I'll definitely mess around with it, but I think Mana Worm going to 1 mana is good. Like, right, that's a buff, but it being 2 health is a huge deal, and it's kind of a game breaker for a lot of decks. And so I don't think Mana Worm is going to see a ton of play, to be completely honest with you. All right, and now moving into Paladin, Priest, and Rogue. Paladin getting 4 mana Call to Arms back. Man, dude, I'm actually kind of scared about Call to Arms, to be completely honest, because 4 mana Call to Arms defined the format. It was Paladin Stone, like 30% Paladin for like the month that Call to Arms existed at 4. It was completely broken. But I was also one of the people that was advocating for like a Call to Arms on nerf, because if you look at the other decks in the format, there's 2 things. Other decks now have the ability to pump stats out to like sort of an equivalent level of like Call to Arms at 4, right? Like, kind of ignoring the aberration in Darkly Warlock. Even stuff like Secret Mage, Odd Paladin, Rogue can make some pretty disgusting boards super early in the game. And so I don't know if Call to Arms would be super out of place when compared to those. Like, I think it'd be like, don't get me wrong, 4 mana Call to Arms is still going to be very, very strong. And I'm very, very happy for it, but I don't think it's going to be as busted. I think the WoW format's caught up a little bit to 4 mana Call to Arms. I mean, I think you mess around with this not only in like even Paladin, but just like aggro Paladins of all sorts, right? So like Egg Paladin used to be one of the best aggro Paladin decks, like for a long time. And like that used to be what kind of broke Call to Arms in our format with like Knife Jugglers and stuff like that as well. I think the big loser here for Paladin actually is Libram Paladin, because Libram Paladin is the deck that, like, you can't run Call to Arms because you have Penflingers and Broomsticks and the Aldor Attendants, a bunch of stuff that you don't want to cheat out of your deck because you want their battle cries. And so, like, it's losing out here because it doesn't get to run Call to Arms. But I also think you can just run Call to Arms in a bunch of other Paladin decks. Secret Paladin, Exodia Paladins to help thin your deck, and hit card draw cards, like Holy Wrath Paladins. Pretty much every Paladin deck that can run Call to Arms probably wants to run Call to Arms because it's going to be really, really, really good. I just think the rest of the format is kind of caught up, you know? And then Priest only getting 1 reverb, but it's a really, really big one. We're getting Power Word Shield back. I'm so happy. 1 mana, draw a card, plus 2 health. I mean, this not only enables APM Priest and a bunch of shenanigans, but it's a big buff to Inner Fire Priest. It's a big buff to Mind Blast Priest. It's just, we get the really, really good card back, and I'm really excited. Notable exceptions here. I think a lot of people were hoping for an extra arms unnerf here. Back to, I guess, re-unnerf, because it was 3 and then 2 and then 3. A lot of people wanted 2 mana extra arms back. And I'm actually kind of surprised we didn't get it, to be completely honest with you. But maybe they were like, okay, they got Power Word Shield, and maybe giving them Power Word Shield plus extra arms was a little bit too much. I don't know if that would have been the case, but they were, I guess, a little bit cautious here when it came to Priest. But don't get me wrong, I am super happy with 1 mana Power Word Shield. And then something that they really just didn't give an F about what they unnerfed. They just went balls to the wall when it came to Rogue. Rogue getting 5 unnerfs here. So let's start with the obvious ones. Okay, Edwin going back from 4 to 3. This was like confirmed the day that they nerfed Edwin. No surprise here. The Rogue Galakron going back to 0. This is something a lot of people, myself included, were kind of expecting. I'm happy that they did this. I mean, you get like Tempo Rogues back, and the combo Rogues that run Galakron all love to see this. Arena Rogues love to see it. I think this is just a solid change. And then Blade Flurry, okay? Blade Flurry going back to 2 mana, but it's keeping the aspect of no face damage. So, I know a lot of people saw this and were just like, damn, Blade Flurry, 2 mana, Flame Strike the board, whatever, for Kingsbane. I'm like, I think that's a fine way to think about it, but I think another way to think about it is, it doesn't go face, so it's bad, you know? I actually don't know if you run Blade Flurry and Kingsbane Rogues. I think in certain metagames and in certain matchups, you're going to be very, very happy that you have it. And you're going to be like, damn, 2 mana Blade Flurry is insane. What the hell was Blizzard thinking? And then other games, it's going to be completely dead in your hand. And you're just like, crap, I really wish this was literally anything else. I definitely think it's worth experimenting with, but I don't think it's like an auto-include breaks the format Kingsbane's going to be tier S. As a lot of people initially thought it was going to be. I think there's a little bit of hesitation, I think, when it comes to Blade Flurry, and I'm not super hype on it to begin with. Of course, I'm going to play with it, and we'll find out. Okay, now we've got some 2 kind of mind-blowing nerfs, to be completely honest with you. I did not expect them to do these. I don't think very many people at all expected them to do these. So the first one that we're going to talk about is Caverns Below. So Caverns Below started as a 4 mana, like So Caverns Below started as summon 4 minions of the same type, or same name, and your minions become 5/5s for the rest of the game, and then it became 5 minions for 5/5 stats, and then it became 5 minions for 4/4 stats. So a lot of people thought that if they were going to nerf this, that we're going to go to that middle ground, right? Summon 5 minions for 5/5 stats. We are all the way back to the original Caverns Below, though, the original Crystal Core. Summon 4 minions, get 5/5 worth of stats. This one's really, really hard. Really, really hard to analyze. Just because Quest Rogue is such a funky deck. It is such a weird deck that it's really, really hard to evaluate without actually playing it and refining a list and then seeing how it does in the metagame. I'm going to preface this by saying I am a big fan of Quest Rogue, specifically because of the fact that it's a very unique way to win games. Right? It's not your traditional kind of deck, which is why I love it. That said, it was super degenerate when it was a top tier deck. It was so uninteractive to play against. Any slow deck just kind of auto-conceded. Yeah, and I hate those kind of decks, right? Like, that's why I hate stuff like Mechathene. That's why I hate stuff like Millrogue. So, if this is good, I am not going to be very excited. But I actually don't think it's going to be very good. I say that with a lot of hesitation because, again, Quest Rogue is a super weird deck and it's kind of impossible to predict how it's going to be. But if I'm just looking at kind of top tier decks, I mean, stuff like Secret Mage probably just absolutely demolishes Quest Rogue. And I wonder about stuff like Big Priest. Like, is Quest Rogue fast enough and big enough to beat Big Priest? I don't know. Because Big Priest has got really fast. It could do very well against board-based aggro decks, right? Like Odd Rogue, or Odd Paladin, because of the 0 and 1 drops that it might be able to play, right? Stuff like Shards, Wax Elementals, Target Dummies, stuff like that. But the fact that we have Flybooter and just like 2 Flybooters able to complete the quest, but you also have like 2 mana prep instead of 3, like it's really hard to evaluate. I'm excited to play with it. I'm excited to test it. I am not expecting a ton from Caverns Below, but I think it's cool that they went back, and I hope they don't hesitate if Quest Rogue ends up being like a top tier deck. I hope they don't hesitate like they did with Raza and wait like 9 months until it's no longer meta, you know, because that's going to be a miserable 9 months when the Caverns Below is like a top tier deck. But I'm okay if it's like a tier 3, tier 4 deck, you know, because a lot of people do enjoy it. So, and then the last one, this is probably like my only unnerf that they've announced that I absolutely hate, absolutely despise, and I hope they change their mind on this. Necro Apothecary going from 5 to 4. For those of you guys that didn't play with Necro Apothecary, like the 3 weeks that it was a card, this card was like Barnes in Rogue, but it could blow you out of the game like even harder. The downside was that it was like not super consistent, but like that hasn't stopped people in decks in Wild. I hate that this was unnerfed. It's like it's gonna be, you know how people hate playing against Quest Rogue, right? It's gonna be like this, where you're just gonna have games that are decided on turn 2, turn 3, or maybe even as early as turn 1, because the opponent goes like Coin Foxy, Shadow Step Foxy, Necro Apothecary, drawing Deathwing, right? The Dragon Lord. That if you kill that Necro Apothecary, then you get like 40/40 worth of stat. It's like Darkest Hour, you know, style of deck. And those decks were absolutely atrocious to play against. I actually hate the fact that they unnerfed this card. I want less of those decks in the format, less of the decks that just say, ha, game's over on turn 3. And I think this is just like asking for decks like that. And so, not a huge fan of Necro Apothecary nerfs. Is probably like the one thing that I'm like not excited about. And I'm absolutely despising like playing against this already, like without even having played a game against it. I absolutely despise it. So yeah, so that's what, 7 plus 9, so that's 16, math is hard, of the unnerfs announced out of the 30 or so. And so definitely keep an eye out for a second video with all the other unnerfs that they announced for the rest of the classes, plus the neutral cards. I'm excited. I hope you guys are as well for the kind of what are the biggest changes probably coming to the WoW format ever, I feel like. I'm super excited. I think it's going to be a very different format, which is like all you can ask for from these unnerfs. I think it's what a lot of people have been asking for. So I hope you guys are looking forward to playing with the unnerfs. And if you guys are, let me know what cards you're the most excited about, what cards you're the most scared by, and what decks you're going to be trying out with these new cards. And let me know how you think they're going to impact the WoW metagame. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.